Hi everyone, I'm Stefano from SotoZen. Welcome to this new video tutorial. First of all, many thanks to you all guys, because this channel reached 100 followers. I am so happy and you are just great. In this video I will show you how to slice object in Blender, and this tutorial is related to this 3D animation that I have done and uploaded to SotoZen, my main YouTube channel. Nothing complicated here, but a little bit of everything. So we will use some shape key animation, some rigid body simulation. I will try my best to go step by step as always. So let's see how I made it. And the first thing we want to do is to model our object that will be cutted, and just to change subject, let's make a very basic watermelon. I will use the same technique but just with a different subject. So let's press Ctrl 3 to add subdivision surface modifier to our default cube, and we can go in the tab here and direct apply this modifier. In this way our cube has changed its topology, and we can move it down so it's aligned with our floor grid. And let's right click to shade smooth it, and let's apply an outside material, very basic stuff here, only it's a watermelon, so some green. Let's go a little bit in this way, and pressing Z we can material preview what we are doing, so something like this. Okay, let's also add a floor object that we can scale, and let's apply the scale. And even for this, let's give a very basic material, less reflective in this case. And we want also to build a very basic blade object. Something like this. Ctrl A to apply the scale again. I press tab to enter edit tab, and let's add an edge loop. Select this edge here and let's move it a little bit down, so we have our blade. And let's assign simple material, maybe metallic, a bit reflective. Okay, we have our elements in our scene. First thing I want to do is to animate the blade, because our slicing effect will be related to the animation of our blade. So I want to have a new window here with a graph editor to better see my animation that I am going to do. And with N I want my item properties visible here. Let's insert with I and location for this object, or let's undo this, even better, because we know this blade will move only up and down. We can right click here and insert a single keyframe for the Z axis. And I like to animate in a little bit of cartoonish way, so I go forward 8 frames to make the blade prepare its movement, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 frames later I want my blade to hit the floor. Again, insert a single keyframe. Let's frame my animation curve here, and I want to grab this handle and move it here. In this way there is no slowing down during the animation, and Let's also make little bounce after hitting the ground, and we can copy and paste this position. Let's select this, and I want to fix a little bit this animation because I want a straight and fast jump here, and then more smooth going back to the ground in this way. And then I will let the blade in the rest position for some frames. This is really not very important for the purpose of the tutorial, but you can do your animation much better than this. And let's insert one last keyframe. We can also set 50 as end frame. So we have our basic animation here. Maybe this blade is a little bit too thick. Let's scale on the y-axis down and again apply the scale value. Okay, so now we have everything that we need, and not really. And the first thing we want to do is to duplicate, well, let's name this watermelon entire. Okay, Shift D, and let's duplicate this and let it in the same position. And we can isolate this new object, and we can call this watermelon half. Let's go to the edit mode, pressing tab, and wireframe visualization, and A twice to deselect all, Ctrl+3 to enter the face selection mode, and with the B box selecting tool, let's get rid of these half faces. So we can go now to the material mode preview, and in edit mode, Ctrl+2, and let's select this edge loop. Press F to create a new face, and then press I to inset this face, and then I once again, and I think it's enough in this way. And we can go now here and add a new material for the center of our watermelon, and this time will be some red and a little bit reflecting material. Let's assign, deselect again everything. Now let's select this face loop, and let's make a one last material for our object. This time will be white, and again a little bit reflective, and let's assign. Okay, we have maybe the most bad and crappy watermelon in the history of Blender, but it is more than enough for the purpose of our tutorial. So we have our first half of the watermelon, and what I want to do is go here, and I want to apply some shape keys for this object. So let's press plus to add the basis one, and then plus again to add a new key shape, and entering edit mode, I think I can select this edge here, and with the help of the proportional tool, I also check the connected only option. Let's move down a little bit in this way our object. So now I have this slider that can help me animate these two shapes, and then I want a new one, and with the same edges selected, this time I can a little bit rotate move and do something like this. Maybe it's a little bit too much this one. Okay. And now let's check if it is working. Yes. Okay, now we have our center of origin, our origin for this object that is in the middle because it came from the entire object, and we don't want this. I want this object to be more on the bottom for the later animation that we will do. We can make this in different ways. We can also maybe, first of all, let's select the basis here, and we can select all pressing A and disable the proportional tool. Now we don't need anymore, and let's move this until we see that its center is now around this area, and then we want to reposition this half in the middle here. So we are ready in this way, and I'm sure you guess it. Now if we want to duplicate this and rotate and position in the right place. So Ctrl A to apply the rotation. So our parameters are 0, 0, 0 and 1, 1, 1 is always important. And let's name this half 2 or left and right, whatever. And if we now go back to our scene, we have now these two different halves of the watermelon. And what we want to do now is to go to our blade animation, and we want to be in the frame where the blade touch our watermelon, but you can see that in the way I made the animation we have this frame and the frame after is already too deep in the object. I want a middle position, and I can fix this easily, maybe moving this handle a little bit. Or this. Okay, let's make something like this. The animation still looks alright. Okay, and in this way let's move our cursor to this moment, and let's hide the two halves, and we have only our entire object. And I forgot one thing. I need also one shape key for my entire object, so let's do it very quickly. And let's isolate this to better see what I'm doing. Let's select this, proportional mode on, and let's go a little bit down, something like this. Okay, go back to our scene elements, and now in this at this frame we want to insert one keyframe for our shape key, and this frame we want our shape key to be at this point. Okay, I don't like very much the way I've done this. Let's try to improve a little bit. Okay, of course, when I have done my original animation, I put a little bit more details and efforts to this, but I'm going a little bit more quick for this tutorial. Okay, but we have you can see this shape going down, like it is following a little bit the blade. And first thing we want to do is to select the watermelon object and apply and add a Boolean modifier, and let's select the blade object as Boolean operator. In this way it's more nice to see this moment. I think for better seeing this, I will add maybe one frame to the animation, so we have also this frame more to show what's happening. And this is moving too soon, so let's, yes, I moved this shape key animation one frame forward to better align with the blade movement. When we are now at the frame where our blade hit the floor, we want this entire object disappear, and we can easily do this insert using a scaling animation. So let's insert one keyframe for this, and the frame after, let's put this to 0 and I to insert another one. So now we have our object that disappear, and let's unhide our two halves, and at this moment we want these two halves appears instead. So let's insert one scale keyframe, and the frame before let's put 0 and 0, 0, 0 for the scale value. So we have our entire object that disappear and the two halves appears, and we want them to appear with the first shape key at its maximum value. So let's insert these two keyframes here, and let's go forward 2 keyframes, and let's animate this shape interpolation to go back to 0, and selecting the second key shape that we prepared before, let's insert again one keyframe for the second, pressing this icon here, and let's go forward once more 2 frames on our timeline, and we want to make the second key shape appear for our object, and then lastly 2 frames ahead again, and let's go back to the rest position in this way. So what we have now is we have this simple animation that makes the blade hit, and the two halves somehow respond dynamically to the movement of the blade. Okay, the next step is to go at the right moment, the right frame where the two halves appear in our scene, and is this one. Sorry. We can hide these two curves from our graph editor to better see the other values. And what I want to insert here is pressing I, and I want to insert a lock and a location and rotation keyframe for both of them. And then 2 frames later, I want to move a little bit up and maybe can rotate something like this the first one, and the same thing I want to do with the second half. So a little bit go up and want to rotate a little bit in different way, Okay. And I to insert a lock rot keyframe also here. So we have tuck, and we have our first starting point of animation. Now the last part is to prepare a simple rigid body simulation. So let's select our floor, and we can go to rigid body, and we can set this as passive, and maybe as surface response we can maybe increase a little bit the friction, but it's not so important. And for these two objects now we want to be rigid body, active for sure, but also animated, and we have to animate this animated parameter. So they are animated until, let's hide the scale properties and let's focus only the location and rotation keyframes that we have on our timeline. They are animated until the frame 16. So let's check animated, and let's press I to animate this parameter. And the frame after, we want to uncheck this animated option, and again I to insert a keyframe. And we want to do the same for this half. So again, rigid body active and animated until the frame 16. Let's press I and then uncheck this animated option and press I again. And hopefully, yes, it's already working, but we have to set maybe more frames on our animation. Yeah, and you can see that now our two halves are behaving like normal animated object until they switch to a rigid body simulated object. And this is how it works. So just to recap what we have done quickly, we have one single object that it disappears when the blade hit and cut him through, and then the two halves appear and they are animated on their location and rotation for 2 frames, and then the rigid body animation start and simulate the rest of the movement for these 2 halves. Okay guys, I somehow made it to the end of this video. I know many times I still get stuck with my poor English. Be patient with me, I will try my best to improve. And let me know if you like this tutorial, and ask any questions or suggestions you may have in the comments below. And if you didn't do it yet, visit SotoZen, my main YouTube channel. I have a lot of animation and VFX video there. Thanks again for watching. See you soon with another tutorial. Have a great day. Ciao.